Okay, I call this meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock. What do we do? Oh, flag salute.
Thank you, Mayor. Very much, Mayor. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We did have a closed session earlier, and there is nothing to report out. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Bruins?
Present.
Councilmember Daniels?
Here.
Councilmember Miller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Here.
And Mayor Middleton.
Here.
So this meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live, but there was a Sacramento board meeting taking place at the same time, so we may not be live at this moment. I do hear an echo that we'll try and troubleshoot in just a moment.
Is that the device we were using earlier for the earlier meeting?
No, that one's closed. So this meeting is being taped on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. This meeting is closed caption and live stream at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, June 13th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. And this meeting can also be viewed on the city's YouTube channel. And with that, the next item is approval of agenda.
Move approval?
Second?
Motion by Miller, second by Schaefer. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bruins?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels? Can you go unmute it back?
I don't know if you guys can hear me. I cannot hear anything on this side.
Sorry, just one moment. We have to unmute it in the back. Can you hear us now, Councilmember Daniels?
Yes, I can.
So I'll do the roll call again for the approval of the agenda. Councilmember Bruins?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schaefer?
Aye.
And Mayor Middleton.
Aye. Next item.
Next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
Mr. Daniels, kick us off.
Just the only thing I have is that it's going to be hot apparently, and I believe going to open up cooling centers for a couple of days. If someone could confirm that, the city manager.
That's correct, Councilmember Daniels. We will have, actually we had it open today and it'll be open tomorrow to the cooling center at the senior center, and I'll have a slide for that during the city manager's update that includes the address and the times that it's open.
Was there anything else, Mr. Daniels?
Just me trying to turn my phone off. Nope, that's it.
Okay. Ms. Bruins.
Thank you. Just a couple things. Regional Sand is dark for the month of June, so no report there. We had a PAL meeting yesterday, and it was a lot of fun because we had it out at the Sayonara Center with all the kids and their water-related bounce houses, and one of our CSOs actually went down the slide with one of the kids in full uniform, so that got a lot of hurrahs and attention. At the meeting, we talked about the upcoming events this summer. We're having a swim day at Rush Park on July 25th for the PAL kids, and they're able to, they'll probably have hot dogs and hamburgers to swim for free that afternoon. And then on Sunday Fun Day, which is September 25th, that last Sunday in September, PAL has been working with the committee on Sunday Fun Day, including the Park District, and so we're going to have a fundraiser there. VIP parking for $20 on the Antelope side between the soccer field and the baseball field. And anybody who wants to park there, it's a $20 fee, and the funds all go to PAL. So that was very nice of them to offer that. And I'd like to publicly thank Kiwanis for giving us a $500 donation yesterday to pay the cost of the annual $5 fee for as many kids as we can cover that otherwise wouldn't be able to join. And we're talking about getting tickets to the air show in October, which we typically do, so the kids can go to the air show at Mather Air Force Base. So that's my report from PAL. And then the only other thing I would like to report is that I got this great flyer today from my neighborhood association, which is Chasen. There is going to be a work day at San Juan Park at 5509 Mariposa Avenue on Saturday, June the 18th, from 9 to arrive around 9:30, between 9:30 and 10. Couple hours of cleanup and fix up, and then you'll be hosted for lunch. And so this is an event in a neighborhood association outside of mine, but it's being, all neighborhood associations and citizens and in Citrus Heights are invited to participate and make this a truly helping city event. And then, I know it's really early, but I have another little notice here, not to forget National Night Out, which is August the 2nd, which is a Tuesday night, first Tuesday in August. So, thank you to my president of Chasen for keeping me on my toes. That's it.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I really don't have anything to report. Jeannie covered most of the announcements. I will say on Memorial Day, along with the mayor and vice mayor and Jeannie, we were at the Memorial Day.
And Tim.
Yeah, the vice mayor.
Oh, you said that, okay.
Mr. Tim Schaefer. Very respectful Memorial Day observation at Sylvan Cemetery, and then Tim and I went down to the Veterans Community Center and listened to about an hour of Capitol Pops, which was just a whole lot of fun. And I have to say, at both places, our city manager and his kids and his wife are volunteering and put together some good hot dogs over at the community center, so thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I didn't have any meetings thus far. I have a library board meeting next Thursday. But I did want to kind of remind everybody that this weekend is, next weekend, a week from Sunday, is Father's Day. And congratulations to all those dads. It's one of my most treasured duties in life, is being a dad. So, so that's all I had there, and have a great day, everybody.
Okay, there is nothing to report on my end. We have a SACOG board meeting next week, so we'll have a little bit more excitement to put out then. Let's see, next item.
Next item is public comment, and members of the public may address the council on any agenda item of interest to the public and within the council's purview, or on any agenda item before or during the council's consideration of the item. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please either complete a speaker identification sheet and give it to myself. If participating via Zoom, use the raise hand function or *9 from a telephone to indicate your desire to speak. When your name is called, I will allow you to unmute your microphone to speak. And I know we have one speaker card that was submitted, and I do not see any raised hands in Zoom at this time.
Okay, wonderful. Mr. Mike Nishimura, if you could come up, please.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I think you all know me, but my name is Mike Nishimura, and I am now the new president of REACH, which is the Residents Empowerment Association of Citrus Heights. And Councilmember Bruins kind of stole my thunder. I just wanted to announce that REACH, in collaboration with our active neighborhood associations and the Sunrise Park Recreation and Park District, we're organizing the Community Park Cleanup and Fix-Up Day. It'll be on June 18th. Sunrise Rec and Park District will be supplying paint, paintbrushes, gloves, tools. And it's just a day we can clean up the park, spread out bark, do whatever projects the Park District has for us. And we will have Kona Ice out there. We will be barbecuing hot dogs, so we will have a free Kona Ice and hot dogs for the volunteers that show up. So I just wanted to present that to you and let any community members that are willing and able to do so come out and join in the fun. This is the first event that REACH has done in years. So hopefully this will be good return for reaching out to the community, creating that bond. Anyway, thank you.
Question.
Thanks, Michael.
Sure.
Do you want people to respond so you have somewhat of a head count?
It would be nice. It's not mandatory. It would be nice if we could. Parking is kind of limited. We counted 30 spots, but the Park and Rec District will open up the back lot if need be. And there is some street parking, but we've also heard there's going to be construction on Mariposa that day. So if we can get some response, just so we have a general idea, that would help us out a little bit. And it would help the Park and Rec District too, insofar as how much supplies they need to provide for us. They will be supplying gloves and stuff.
So there's an email address here. You might want to read it out.
You can contact Tom Sheeler. He created a new email address. It's citycitruscicereach@gmail.com. I will leave these flyers on the table and back. Okay.
Great.
Any other questions?
Can we get this on our website?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get an announcement out on this too. Sounds like a great event for some community pride.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. No more public comment? All right, next item.
Next item is consent calendar, items 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Move approval of consent?
Second.
Motion by Bruin, second by Schaefer. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Bruins,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schaefer,
Aye.
and Mayor Middleton.
Aye. Next item?
The next item is public hearing, number 8. The subject is draft amendment to the general plan safety element. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution finding the project is exempt from CEQA per section 15061B3 and approving the proposed general plan amendment to include the local hazard mitigation plan into the community health section of the general plan as presented.
Good evening, Council. Allison Bermudez here with the Community Development Department Planning Division with this item. As mentioned, this is an amendment to the general plan. We are amending the safety element to include information and an adopted local hazard mitigation plan. You adopted that plan earlier this year in February, and so now to continue to receive FEMA funding in the future, we need to incorporate that mitigation plan into our general plan. So the proposal is to amend the safety element to include the language required so we can continue to apply for FEMA grants. Since this is a general plan amendment, it was taken to the Planning Commission in May, and they have recommended approval. Our local hazard mitigation plan was adopted as part of a Sacramento County group. There was 28 agencies involved in that plan. As mentioned, you did review that and adopt it in February of this year, so this is just amending the general plan to include the required language. And it is a resolution that was presented in your packet with the languages being added to the general plan. Happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions before I open the public hearing? All right. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close said hearing. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move we accept staff's recommended action.
Second.
Motion by Bruin, second by Miller. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bruins,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schaefer,
Aye.
and Mayor Middleton.
Aye. Next item?
The next item is regular calendar, item number 9, changing the time of regular city council meetings. And the recommendation is to adopt a resolution changing the time for regular meetings of the city council. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Just bear with me a moment. I do have a brief presentation that I would like to share with you. So I'm Amy Van, the city clerk, and tonight I will be presenting on the item regarding changing the time of regular city council meetings. Since 2005, the city council has been meeting on the second and fourth Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. And this change was made to move from Wednesdays to Thursdays, and it was done in order to broadcast our city council meetings live to the community on Metro Cable 14. At the recent City Council Strategic Planning Retreat on May 10th, the City Council did have a discussion regarding changing the time of the City Council meetings. And as a result of that discussion, the City Council adopted a strategic planning objective which states to present to City Council for consideration an earlier start time for the City Council meetings with emphasis on promoting public participation through effective communications. Occasionally, the City Council does meet at 6 p.m. or even earlier to conduct business in closed session, which is usually about 30 minutes prior to a regular meeting. Generally, they've been around 30 minutes. Also, the City Council will hold special meetings for study session items, which are open to the public and are an opportunity for the council to discuss topics of interest and to receive presentations. And by changing the start time of regular meetings, most likely the study sessions would occur during the regular meeting portion of the meeting. Staff is presenting two options for the City Council consideration, either a 6 p.m. or a 6:30 p.m. start time, both at the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. We did confirm with Sacramento Metro Cable Commission that if this council did move to an earlier start time, either of these times, they would be able to continue to broadcast our meetings live, and that it wasn't going to be a problem. Staff also did look at city council meetings in the region, and a majority of them start around 6 or 6:30 p.m., so this change would be in alignment with what the region is doing. Public meetings are an opportunity to increase public engagement, and if this is adopted, staff would promote public participation through many of our communication channels, including announcement at the June 23rd City Council meeting and signage at City Hall, a news flash on the city's website, an article in our electronic newsletter, social media posts, and then an advertisement on Metro Cable 14. In conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council deliberate and select one of the proposed times, either 6 or 6:30 p.m., then adopt a resolution confirming the change in the time of the regular City Council meetings. If adopted, this change would begin with the July 14th City Council meeting. And with that, I am available to answer any questions.
Ms. Burns?
I thank you. I don't have a question so much as just perhaps you could make a statement as to why the time change is being considered? What brought the subject up in the first place?
Sure, I can. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Councilmember Burns, the start time at 7 o'clock, just talking to other jurisdictions and past experiences working with other jurisdictions in the region, the earlier start time, it seems to allow for people to, rather than go home after work and then have to leave and come back to a meeting, if they have something that they wish to engage on with the city council or want to come in and hear about an item or make public comment, it's more convenient for a lot of folks to leave work and then come directly to the meeting and then are able to go home after they participate in the meeting. Oftentimes, for a lot of people, if they make it home, they have a hard time leaving once they get there. So it's an opportunity for further engagement with the public to have a little earlier start time.
Great. Well, I just wanted that to be said out loud because we talked about that at our strategic planning meeting. So It's basically to encourage more engagement from the public, make it easier for them to come. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, all I would say is, I'd like to see from an advertisement standpoint that we advertise in the Messenger for 90 days, as well as the Citrus Heights Sentinel, the online paper that some 40,000 residents subscribe to. So I think it's great. I think it's time. Thank you.
Mr. Daniels, do you have anything?
Yeah, I would just echo the city manager's comments. I think that's very reasonable and logical to have those opinions of what people might be doing. We certainly have never been a large crowd city council unless there's some hot topic. But the other thing this does also is it also allows our staff to get home earlier too, and I like that idea. That they can get home to their families also. And so I certainly have a preference more towards 6 p.m. than 6:30. I don't think 6:30 is much of a difference. I think that would still cause people to maybe want to venture home, grab a little bit of dinner, then, uh-oh, the TV's on, there's the chair, and oh, well. So I have a preference towards 6 p.m., and I think it serves a very good purpose.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know that this is a scientific conclusion that more people will show up because we start earlier. I could make the same argument that you need to get home from work, clean up, get a shower. If you're going to be talking, you definitely want to put a suit and tie on, maybe. And that's from council members as well that are working up till 5 o'clock. And so I don't know that necessarily making a change is beneficial. And the other thing I heard that I thought was very interesting was we'll put the study sessions in the meetings. So they'll still go the same time as if we started at 7. So I don't know that there's a benefit there. The meetings are just longer. But I wouldn't fight it. I mean, we need a start time. I'm just not for an earlier start time.
Okay. Well, seeing as we've had all of our comments, what is the pleasure of the council?
Well, let me just make one more comment.
Okay.
You know, true, the study sessions would be in the meeting, but we'd have the discretion of putting them anywhere in the meeting. They don't necessarily have to be up front if everybody doesn't want to sit through the study sessions.
Right, but the meeting then, the length of time is still the same whether you,
For us, it is.
Yeah.
But not necessarily for the public.
right. And I would think the study session,
And I don't care what time it starts. Either time is fine with me.
And I can just offer, I think it's, as far as the study sessions, they're pretty infrequent. It's not like we're doing it every single month. We do study sessions probably 5 or 6 times a year. It's really not that frequent that study sessions are an issue. And oftentimes the study sessions are important ones. So if people are really passionate about a particular issue and they want to stay for the study session or they want to make sure they attend, I don't think that that's too much of an issue. I would agree with Councilmember Daniels. I like a 6 p.m. And I'm one of the folks, that I have a very busy schedule, and I would like to see the council meeting start earlier.
And before we move on, I would just say that starting at 6 p.m., I agree, Jeannie, you brought up a great point. If we can move those study sessions to the back end so that we can handle the people's business, and if anyone wants some extra credit homework, they can stick around and learn a little bit more. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we adopt a resolution changing the time for regular meetings of the city council to 6 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Daniels, second by Bruins. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bruins,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
no,
Vice Mayor Schaefer,
Aye.
Mayor Middleton.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar, item number 10. The subject is California Sports Wagering Regulation and Unlawful Enforcement Act, Initiative 19-0029A1. The recommendation is to consider adoption of a resolution opposing the California Sports Wagering Regulation and Unlawful Enforcement Act initiative.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'll just have a few brief comments on this and why it's here before you. As Ms. Mann spoke to, It's a ballot initiative that is a tribal-sponsored initiative that's qualified for the November 2022 ballot. It's California legalized sports betting on American lands, and the initiative would amend the California Constitution to allow tribal casinos to offer roulette, games played with dice, and sports wagering. The reason, that's not the reason we're bringing it here. The second part of it is the reason that we have it here for your consideration. It then goes on to say, in addition, it would amend the Business and Professions Code and authorize any person or entity to bring civil suits for violation of gaming laws, commencing with sections 330 of the Penal Code. So the concern here, this was brought up to us by one of our businesses, Stone's Gambling Hall, a longtime City of Citrus Heights business, asked us to look at this. They had some concerns about it, and they'd submitted a request to the City Council to consider a position of opposition. The games that they're talking about from an expansion standpoint, as I mentioned, that's not something that from a staff perspective that we're voicing any concern about. It's more of this provision that could result in potential frivolous lawsuits for one of our businesses here within the city. There was the letter request. There was also the staff report that was written up. Should the city council, have any questions on this or want to go deeper, I know that City Attorney Jones has also reviewed it and is prepared to answer any questions. But it's really about this provision that's really not germane to the sports betting aspect of it or roulette or dice games. It's this provision that would potentially result in frivolous lawsuits against card rooms. And there have been, I want to say there's 5 cities, there may be more that have passed a resolution of opposition for that specific concern. There also, I believe, are at least 2, potentially 3 council of governments that have taken a similar position. And then I believe at tomorrow's California League of Cities meeting, this is also a topic that's going to be considered at that meeting as well. And so with that, happy to answer any questions the council has, but again, we're brought this forward for your consideration if you would like to consider adopting a position of opposition.
Okay, Steve has a question, then Jeannie.
I do want an explanation, just a little better of why this, everybody gets sued and we have frivolous lawsuits left and right. How is this different than the existing law, and what changes here, and how does it expose our businesses here in Citrus Heights to lawsuits?
Yeah, it is a little bit different, and you're correct that people can sue anybody for anything. But what this does is typically the Attorney General's office has to file lawsuits related to gaming. Okay. What this legislation would do is it's called a private Attorney General's provision. So it would give private law firms the ability to file lawsuits as if they're the Attorney General. They would have to make a request to the AG's office. And I don't know how difficult that'd be to get, but it does sort of shift private firms from almost acting as a quasi-governmental agency.
Would this be constitutional or?
Well, this is why they're asking, this would be an amendment to the California Constitution. So currently it would not be constitutional. This would make it such.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeannie?
Thank you. I know that the second part of the presentation is what we're mostly concerned about. Would you just restate the first part of that provision again, please?
Sure, absolutely, Councilmember Bruns. The first part of the provision would allow tribal casinos to offer roulette, games played with dice, and sports wagering.
On their property or?
At their tribal casinos.
In their private?
Yeah, at their.
Okay, I thought I heard you say on public land, so.
No.
Okay, all right, that was my question on that. Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I really don't have any comment. I think it really, it's an affront to what's, it's an affront to my sensibilities. It seems pretty outrageous to grant private firms the ability to seek damages against an existing business for what, in my opinion, seems like normal business practices, and I certainly couldn't support this initiative.
Okay. Mr. Daniels?
I think that Councilmember Schaefer characterized it very well. That's all I would have.
All right, is there any public comment?
Good evening, Mayor Middleton, council members. My name is Kermit Schultz, and I'm with Stone's Gambling Hall, and I'm here on behalf of ownership to ask for your opposition to the initiative. It's titled the Sports Wagering and Unlawful Gambling Enforcement Act. I want to say thank you to our city attorney, city manager, and staff for the effort to bring this before you this evening. Thank you very much. It is a great concern to us. It's a great concern to the industry. It's really a smoke and mirrors initiative. They are asking to be allowed sports betting at racetracks and tribal casinos, along with dice games and roulette. Speaking from experience, knowing many people that bet sports, to drive to an outlying tribal casino to place a bet when you can place one on one of these makes no sense at all. It's not a revenue generator. The dice games and the roulette will be a revenue generator for these very wealthy tribes that are making hundreds of millions of dollars annually. But the real reason for it is as the city manager says, is the ability to bring lawsuits against the industry. And it can be brought against players, it can be brought against businesses, it can be brought against ownerships. Should this change to Business 330, Business Profession Code, specifically 330. 330 has allowed us for the last 25 years to play the games the way they're played at Stones. They've been approved by 5 other previous attorney generals. The tribes have brought lawsuits in the last few years against 2 card clubs for playing, in their minds, illegal games. These are games that are played under the regulations and the rules that the attorney general has placed on the businesses. So for 25 years, they've been approved. So what this basically does is says that if they feel that one of these games are being played illegally, and the Attorney General does nothing about it, which the past 5 or 6 Attorney Generals have said what they're playing is they're playing it the legal way, under the rules and the regulations that we have stated, they can say that it says in here that if the Attorney General does not file a lawsuit, does not go after them, that gives them the right. And that's what they're doing with the PAGA Act. And so it's a major concern for the industry. We have 8 or 9 businesses in the state of California, cities in the state of California, whose budgets rely heavily on their card clubs. We provide close to 300 jobs, and all of that would be at stake, along with our business here in Citrus Heights. So we're asking for your support in opposition to this. Thank you for listening and taking the time.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions?
No. I think it's important that we vote on this tonight, so we can take this vote into the League of California Cities meeting tomorrow as appropriate.
Absolutely. Thank you, Council. Oh, I wanted to say, I know that Councilmember Daniels already has, early on, put his name in there as in opposition. I just wanted to thank Councilmember Daniels for doing that. So, thank you all.
Of course. All right, what is the pleasure of the council?
I move that we, go ahead.
File a letter of opposition as staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Daniels, second by Bruins. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bruins,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schaefer,
Aye.
and Mayor Middleton.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is Department Reports, number 11. The subject is Projects and Programs Update by the General Services Department.
Good evening, Mayor Middleton and members of the City Council. I think we can see the screen up there. Yeah. Mary Poole, and Operations Manager with the General Services, and Leslie Blomquist, City Engineer, with me tonight. We are here to provide a department update on the capital projects and operations of the capital projects and operations side of the General Services Department. As an overview, during this presentation, we will walk through some of the major capital projects that are either under construction right now or in the final design stages. We will talk about some key programs in the operations areas. And since it's grant season, we will talk about some grant programs that are keeping us busy. And we will wrap up with a summary of resources and take any additional questions. Leslie?
Thanks, Mary. So the first project up today is the Arcade Cripple Creek Trail project. This project is currently in the construction phase, and we opened up bids earlier today. I won't share too much on this project, as we will be giving an in-depth presentation specifically on this trail project at an upcoming meeting, but I will share that the estimated current project cost earlier today was around $9.1 million, and that includes the design, environmental, and the construction estimate. We have 9 different funding sources that will make this project happen, 3 of them being various grant programs, which makes up about 70% of the total project budget. I think it's important to note, too, that of the 6 local funds that we have identified, none of those are general fund, and we have the Active Transportation Program grant, a Recreational Trail Program grant, as well as a Per Capita Park grant. This project started back in 2015, and we are anticipating to start construction later this summer. The next project is the Auburn Boulevard Complete Streets Phase 2 project. This project has been in the works for almost 20 years with the adoption of the Auburn Boulevard Specific Plan back in 2005. There are over 20 different funding sources for this project, including 6 different grant-secured funding sources from various federal, state, and regional grant programs. The project also involves a significant amount of coordination between various agencies, including the City of Roseville, Placer County, several utility companies, but our primary utility partner being SMUD, as we're working to underground all the facilities on the east side of the road, as well as 3 transit agencies and the connection to the Lewis Orlando Transit Center. Construction is anticipated to begin in fall of 2023 and take approximately 2 years. This is phase 2 of a larger project, which is the largest and most transformative transportation infrastructure project that we've undertaken to date. And here we have the Greenback Lane Complete Streets project, which is currently in construction and paving going on nightly this week. In fact, they should be starting in about 20 minutes out there doing the number 2 eastbound lane tonight. The total construction estimate is just over $3 million, and we do have a construction management firm helping us with the day-to-day resident engineering and construction inspections at a cost of $335,000. We have 9 different funding sources that will make this project happen. All of them are local funds, including SB1 Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Funds, and given that the Greenback Fair Oaks intersection is half city, half county, the county is contributing to this project as well. The work includes not only the roadway resurfacing, but includes pedestrian and bicycle safety upgrades at the Greenback Fair Oaks intersection. It includes other traffic signal upgrades to that same intersection, as well as Arcadia and Sunrise Boulevard, and also includes storm drain replacements. And just to show and highlight kind of the conditions of our construction projects, that middle project was taken earlier this week, and it shows how we have to pave at night with the overhead utility lines, the traffic signal right there. It's quite constrained. Also part of the Complete Streets project on Greenback is a storm drain replacement across Fair Oaks just north of the intersection there. It was a 36-inch corrugated metal pipe, or CMP pipe, crossing the road at the very tail end of its lifespan. These are things that you don't quite notice when you're driving by, but that was a rather large pipe, very deep, 10 to 12 feet. We had a lot of shoring going on, and I really like this middle picture. You can kind of see the effort that it took to replace that pipe. Another project in active construction is our Mariposa Safe Routes to School Phase 4 project. It is about a $1.75 million project that started earlier in June of 2021. We also have a construction management firm helping with this one at about a $291,000 estimate for the day-to-day inspection and resident engineering services. We put together 3 different funding sources. An active transportation program grant will cover 80% of the project cost. We are at the tail end of this with the last remaining major item of work, which is microsurfacing of the roadway, which will occur next Monday, the 13th. The road will be closed to all traffic from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. so we can perform the microsurfacing. We'll open it up at the end of the day and come back with final striping the weeks to follow. Here's some additional photos of what Mariposa looked like before we started our project. You can see kids walking and biking in the street, in between the parked cars, on private property. Completion of phase 4 of this project concludes a 20-year effort for the entirety of the Mariposa Safe Routes to School, which includes sidewalk and bike lanes, both sides of the street, all the way from Greenback down to Madison. Next up is the Old Auburn Road Complete Streets project. We are starting phase 1 of this project, which will go from Tiara to Gary Oak for about 3/4 of a mile in length. We were previously awarded an approximate $2 million active transportation program grant, and we are just at the beginning phases of that. Other local funding sources will cover the 11.47% required match. We should be having a design contract for your consideration within the next month to start the design. And this project will construct separated sidewalks, class 4 separated bikeways, which are bike lanes separated by a raised concrete median to provide that protection between vehicles and bicyclists, a road diet, which will take a travel lane and reassign that for bicycle and pedestrian use, lighting improvements, landscaping, gateways, as well as an enhanced crossing at Tiara, which is what is shown in the photo rendering on the screen.
San Juan Complete Streets is a 1-mile complete street project currently structured in 2 phases. Phase 1 is just under a half mile between Madison Avenue and Spicer Drive. We currently have $2 million in grant funds for the design portion of phase 1 and part of the construction cost, which gets us about 0.3 miles constructed to Chestline Drive. Local funds, including a contribution from Sacramento Regional Transit, are filling in the funding gap. Staff will be seeking grant funds to cover the remaining portion of phase 1, along with phase 2, which covers the distance from Spicer to Greenback. The corridor will be significantly improved for all modes when the project is complete, with separated sidewalks where feasible, buffered bike lanes, new street lighting, and of course, resurfacing.
And speaking of resurfacing, we have our 2022 residential street resurfacing program, project. The bids for this job were opened back on May 26, with the low bid coming at just under $3 million. We have 6 different local funding sources that will make up this project budget, including additional SB1 funds, and as some of these roadways are also shared with Sac County, they'll be contributing their fair share as well. We also have a construction management contract for your consideration at an upcoming meeting at about $285,000. The project will resurface 19 residential streets, and our next slide will show which 19 streets of those are, and we're anticipated to start next month. The work includes not only the resurfacing, but the accessibility and curb ramp updates associated with that, as well as sidewalk repairs. Anytime we put down new pavement, we want to make sure our utilities underneath the pavement are in good condition, so we have storm drain upgrades as well. Here's the list of the 19 streets that are recommended for repaving this year. The number in parentheses next to each is their existing pavement condition index, or PCI ranking. Just as a reminder, a PCI is a roadway rating on a scale of 1 to 100, with 1 being a completely failed street. You can hardly drive on it, it's essentially falling apart, and 100 being a brand new street or a recently overlaid street. The city average is 53, so right on that poor, fair scale that you see on the right.
Question.
Yeah.
Did we get the bid alternates in?
We did, yes.
Very good.
Yes, and it'll be for consideration at next council meeting, but we are recommending to move forward with all the bid alternates as well.
I know some residents that'll be happy with the answer.
Also a question?
Yes.
I was going to mention this to the city manager sometime soon, but since it's on the list, On Watchtower Way, which, you know, is our northern boundary with Orangevale and Placer County right beyond that. Years ago, when that street was redesigned, and I can't remember, Mary, if it was still county or if it was city, but they put in a raised section that separates the street from a field, undeveloped little strip, and then the sidewalk is beyond that. And that has been nothing but weeds all these years. And so I'm wondering if there is, as part of this project, or maybe an adjunct project, where we could even put rock in like we did at Twin Oaks and Old Auburn Road, something that's a little more sightly, that doesn't require maintenance, like flowers and so forth, because that is a northern boundary to our city and does represent us, so.
Thanks. And we will discuss that. Part of that, the Arcade Cripple Creek Trail will be ending right there and then extending up to that street, so we'll be
That's
improving as
another
part of that
reason. It's going to be the beginning of the trail, which will be beautiful, and to have that next to it would be sad.
Yep.
Thank you.
So as part of the 19 streets, you'll see a lot of really low PCIs. Those are the streets that where we'll be doing a full grind and overlay. You'll also see a couple streets that are in that mid-range level. This is the first year in a while where we're going to be using a small percentage of the funds for applications of these mid-range in order to prolong the life. So normally when streets get kind of to the low PCI, they start to degrade rather quickly. So we'll be applying a microsurface to Melcourt and Wachtell Way, hoping to prolong that and slow that degradation and make them last a little bit longer. This is pretty standard for pavement management programs, and we'll be discussing, I know we have upcoming research and discussions on that as well. In addition to capital projects, engineering and GSD also works on development projects. We work with developers on agreements, tentative maps, final maps. We also review and condition traffic operations and safety analyses to ensure development doesn't cause additional issues on our existing infrastructure. We review the developments for proper drainage, best stormwater management practices, traffic safety, frontage improvements such as sidewalk, streetlights, curb and gutter, and compliance with city code. We then inspect those same improvements in the public right-of-way, the frontage improvements and those traffic safety improvements. We also inspect all the utility tie-ins, and we monitor for stormwater pollution prevention compliance. Some of the current active development projects that our staff is working on includes the Mitchell Village development, the old Sunrise Golf Course, Wyatt Ranch, which is near Sunrise and Sayonara, just north of there. Auburn Heights is over by Walmart on Auburn Boulevard, the townhomes there, as well as Fair Oaks Senior Housing, which is on the west side of Fair Oaks, south of Greenback. Engineering and GSD also manages our encroachment permit program. Any work within the public right-of-way requires an encroachment permit. Some of these are minor, to replace cleanouts or restore sidewalk. Some of them are pretty major, such as full water main replacements or gas main relocations. Anytime we get an encroachment permit, we're doing this to ensure proper installation per our standards. We're doing it to protect the public infrastructure and as well as to coordinate between projects. Each permit application requires a traffic control plan. It requires processing, inspection, closeout, and invoicing. In fiscal year 2021, we issued over 750 permits, and so far this fiscal year, we've done over 600.
Waste management is another division housed in general services. Under this umbrella, staff manages responsibilities related to the residential and commercial service delivery and compliance with state and federal mandates. Grants and funding programs provide some assistance, primarily with education and outreach. The city has lots of great resources available on the website, including an interactive Sort Smart tool to help determine what goes in which bin. And we expect this to be more and more utilized as the residential organic recycling rolls out next month.
So we're also subject to the statewide municipal separate storm sewer system permit, MS4, which is much easier to say, which regulates urban stormwater discharge into our streams, creeks, and rivers. The intent is to keep our waters clean and then also to support aquatic life. This comprehensive program includes pollution reduction activities for construction sites, public education, and monitoring requirements, to name a few. Also stormwater-related, FEMA maps are developed, flood insurance rate maps, and provided to the city and property owners. FEMA is currently working to update their maps, which may result in new boundaries for floodplains and floodways adjacent to our creeks and citrus heights. This is of significance as flood insurance is required for any property within a floodplain. So as a result of the update, if properties may not have previously been located in a floodplain are now, according to the new maps, they may be subject to new insurance requirements. And finally, in 2015, the state issued amendments to the MS4 permit regarding trash capture. These amendments are commonly referred to as the trash amendments. You may have heard that. Trash capture is a huge undertaking. We must be in full compliance by 2030, and so we are working toward that goal, which includes capturing all trash before it enters our waterways. So ways that we're working towards implementation is we are discussing with current development as they come in, requiring compliance now. We're upgrading our storm system with trash capture devices in strategic locations. We're implementing programs such as additional street sweeping to capture the trash before it even enters the storm drain system. And then we're doing monitoring and reporting. We also have a capital side to the stormwater program. We're currently working on design for upgrades at Bladen Court, Amsel Court, and Chula Vista Drive, where we have current localized flooding issues during high storm events. We also perform regular and routine maintenance on our 26 miles of creeks, 4 miles of concrete lined swales, 1 million linear feet of storm drain pipe, and we're doing that in coordination with federal and state agencies, and we're doing the required monitoring and reporting. So here's another recently completed capital project that was done through our stormwater program. The Bonita Storm Drain Project was completed back in March of this year at a final cost of just under $1.5 million. It was constructed using 100% local stormwater utility funds and included installation of over 2,600 feet of new storm drain pipe, new inlets and manholes. We installed 2 new infiltration manholes, which will allow the water to actually percolate back into the groundwater system, recharging our groundwater, and then completed with the resurfacing of Bonita, Dow, and Maritha. These pictures just kind of show the extent of the stuff that gets buried underground that you don't see when it's done. These are large pipes and pretty deep as we are working around existing utilities. Here's some additional photos of the storm drain installation on Bonita and the final resurfacing. And while we often talk about the 26 miles of creeks, we don't often talk about the infrastructure over them, but City of Citrus Heights has 32 city-owned and maintained bridges. They are inspected yearly by Caltrans structural engineers, and those reports are submitted to us. We review those, and we are required to comply with the recommendations on those reports. Currently, we're working on plans to remove debris, obstructions, and accumulated soil under the majority of them. We're also working to repair failing patches and spalling concrete, replace damaged guardrail, repair failed slope protection, and scour and footing protection. And some of the bridges do require a methacrylate application, which is essentially a seal, a crack seal that's applied to concrete bridge decks. We're in the preliminary design on these. It'll be fully funded through our stormwater utility funds, and we are anticipating construction next summer.
The Multimodal Transportation Safety Program, or MMTSP, was adopted by the City Council in 2020. This program initially ranked the backlog of over 800 neighborhood traffic safety complaints to help prioritize locations to focus our limited resources. Since the program launched, there have been close to 200 additional requests that have been submitted. These are ranked quarterly, and at least 5 locations are selected each year for engineering analysis, design, and implementation. Part of the MMTSP includes a way for residents to submit and track their complaints online. Residents can now use SeeClickFix to report issues using an app on their phone or their computer. This slide just shows a few steps to using SeeClickFix. Once you click on Submit a Concern, you can select an issue such as speeding, and then you are able to pinpoint the location using the interactive map tool and enter in additional details. Residents will get a service request number and keep track of where their request is in the queue. This is an example of one of the MMTSP improvements, red reflective signposts that have been installed at multiple locations throughout the city. These 2 picture sets feature Carriage and Calvin on the left and Farmgate and Mariposa on the right. Another example of a recent project is on Peoria Drive, where a wide street was upgraded with centerline striping, bike lanes, parking lanes, and pavement markings and legends, which provide clarity and dedicated space to the various modes, as well as define the parking area. A similar treatment will be applied on Merlindale in the next few weeks.
Another major program for engineering and GSD is the Traffic Signal and Streetlight Maintenance Program. This program has an annual budget of just under $750,000, and it includes addressing traffic signal issues, timing, retiming of the signals, addressing detection deficiencies and maintenance and repair. We also respond to damages and repairs due to just age, infrastructure age, as well as knockdowns and collisions. And then we are often looking for ways to upgrade our system for better operation and better efficiency. Our streetlight program, we respond to a lot of outages. We also respond to damages and repairs due to knockdowns, as well as the deferred maintenance. And we get lots of requests for new streetlights, as several of our neighborhoods in Citrus Heights don't even have them in their neighborhoods. And we're often looking for and always working toward energy efficiency upgrades through our regular maintenance program. In the table on the right, you can see the number of work orders that we issue each year under our streetlight and traffic signal maintenance program. Just over 550 streetlight and 200 traffic signal work orders were issued in 2020, with similar numbers in 2021. So far in 2022 through May, we're trending to have a significantly higher number of work orders this year, which is really not surprising given that the aging infrastructure and deferred maintenance on our program.
All of the major transportation capital projects are accomplished with a variety of grant funding. And now, in addition to construction season, we are in the midst of grant season. These grant applications are complicated and highly competitive, requiring extensive engineering, planning, and support staff resources. This is a snapshot of the applications we are working on now and the grant programs that we know of which are coming up. For some of these grant applications, there will be work to do to get ready for grant cycles that may be 1 or 2 years out. The same staff that are managing the programs and projects that we talked about earlier in the presentation are also leading the grant application teams and are doing the required engineering estimates and concept plans that are required for each program. We also wanted to touch a little bit about funding overall. As mentioned earlier, many projects are a combination of funding sources, different funding cycles, and each funding type has a different reporting requirement. Timelines for reporting and delivery and documentation requirements are also different, and each project or program undergoes regular internal and external auditing. Most grants are reimbursement-based, meaning the city pays up front and is reimbursed after the work is completed, often months after the city pays its contractors. Funding is also tied to project delivery to making sure that we meet deadlines, so it's critical for us to keep these projects moving. And to wrap up, we appreciate the opportunity to share this presentation with you tonight. We have a great team of 3 engineers and great supporting professional staff that make this all possible. We're a lean team, and the same city engineer that oversees capital project is also the one responsible for development projects and operations. Same goes for the principal civil engineer and the senior civil. We have one of each of these engineers. They are busy. So in conclusion, we're all working hard, and it's certainly paying off. And we also wanted to give a plug out to the right senior civil engineer that might be looking to come join our team. We are hiring. Thank you. And then we're ready to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you for that great update. Very comprehensive. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, great. I was going to say exactly the same thing. Very comprehensive. Good job.
Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, I was going to almost say that same exact words. I'm worn out just listening to it all. So it does show hopefully the residents, businesses in Citrus Heights that we're doing a lot. There's a lot going on, and sometimes it's not seen, it's not even visible, but there's a ton of stuff that goes on to run a city. There's a lot of work, and there's a lot of money involved, and it also shows, unfortunately, the complicated nature of government in that, you've got funding coming from 7, 10, 12 different sources. And it's unfortunate, but that's what we've become. But hopefully we continue to strive and move forward. And my heart goes out to the staff, the hard work, just trying to keep track of these projects and the reporting and how they get funded. I really greatly appreciate it all, and it is what makes our city great. Thank you so much.
I realize the grant funding isn't easy, and I've seen many projects. I was thinking back to when we made Greenback 3 lanes, and I think General Services was turning over the couch in the break room to get enough money to get the projects going. So, and then again, to hear that we have to basically front the money for these projects, it's tough on our cash flow, and I don't think a lot of folks realize that at all. It's got to come out of the general fund somehow, and it's basically a loan, but we don't have that money, and we've still got to pay our bills and our employees and everything in between. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. Next item?
The next item is city manager items.
Thank you. Mayor and council, I just first want to also thank our general services team for all the great work they do. Boy, a lot of work happens out of that team, as you can see as part of that presentation. And definitely looking forward to having that pavement discussion in the fall, talking about, maybe some different options on how we approach resurfacing. So more to come on that. If you didn't get enough tonight, the road continues. So if we can go to the next slide, I just have, I believe, one slide here, and Councilmember Daniels asked about this at the beginning of the meeting, but it's been hot. It's hot today. It's going to be hot tomorrow. And looks like we've got some hot weather in store. So we're coordinating with our county partners on opening cooling centers, and we have a cooling center at the Senior Center at the Citrus Heights Community Center, located at 6300 Fountain Square Drive. And it'll be nice and cool in there. It'll be open from 9 to 6. Well, today it was open from 9 to 6, and it'll be open again on Friday from 9 to 7. And then we continue to coordinate with the county on the triggers as to when these cooling centers get open. So hopefully we'll actually experience some natural cooling. We all are fans of the Delta Breeze on days like today and tomorrow. It feels like it's a myth, but it does show up. So, but the good news is we do have a place of refuge for residents that need a cooling center. And that concludes my comments.
Great. Next item?
I got a quick question about
Go ahead.
Ashes. So my wife and I have gone over to the cooling center during the hot days and played some cards over there. And what was interesting is when they closed the facility at 6 p.m., it's still over 100 degrees, oftentimes. Is there any way we could, say, open it, because it doesn't typically get really hot until noonish. So instead of opening from 9 to 6, if we could open it later and close it a little later, I think it might accommodate a few more people that are trying to stay cool. So certainly appreciate it if we could, if it gives that some consideration.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Schaefer. I'll definitely talk to our team, and I hear your point on that. We'd like it to cool off earlier than it does sometimes, but ensuring that there's a cooling center when we're in those peak heat times, I hear your message there.
Got it.
Great. All right, next item?
Next item is items requested by council members and future agenda items.
Do we have anything from anyone? Mr. Daniels? I see your head shaking no. Okay, with that, we are adjourned at 8:04.
Thank you.